2008, a single pinky finger bone was discovered in a cave in Siberia, too small to identify by its shape. It went into a drawer. Nobody thought about it for 2 years. Then someone tested its DNA. What they found should have been impossible. An entirely new human species, one we had never seen, never found a skeleton for, never imagined existed, the Denisovans. And their DNA is inside you right now. Here's what makes this story different from every other extinct human. We have a Neanderthal skeleton. We have hobbit skeletons. We have fossils for nearly every human species that ever lived. But the Denisovans? Almost nothing. A finger bone, a few teeth, a jawbone found thousands of miles away. No skull, no complete skeleton. We have never seen their face except through a digital reconstruction built from pure code. They are ghosts, and the ghosts are still talking. By the end of this video, you will know 3 things. 1, how scientists discovered an entire species without a body. 2, what the Denisovans actually looked like, reconstructed from DNA alone. And 3, whether you carry their genes, because hundreds of millions of people do, and they have no idea. The Old Human, The Forgotten Humans, Episode 3, The Ghost Species in Your DNA. If you have watched other videos about the Denisovans, you have seen the timeline: Denisova Cave, Siberia, 2010, DNA sequencing, a new branch on the family tree. That is where most videos stop. This is not that video. This is about what the Denisovans gave you. The gene that lets Tibetans breathe at 15,000 feet came from Denisovans. The ability of Bajau sea nomads to dive 200 feet came from Denisovans. Your immune system was upgraded by Denisovan DNA, and there may be 2 more ghost species in your genome that we have never found a single bone for. The Denisovans are not extinct. They are in your blood. Denisova Cave, Altai Mountains, Siberia. One of the most remote archaeological sites on Earth. For 300,000 years, this cave was occupied by 3 different human species. Neanderthals used it, modern humans used it, and someone else used it. Someone whose bones were so fragmentary that nobody realized they belonged to a different species. The cave is in southern Siberia near the borders of Kazakhstan, China, and Mongolia. Winters are brutal, -40 degrees. Summers are brief. But the cave is dry, sheltered, and strategically perfect. It overlooks a river valley. You can see for miles. Whoever lived there chose it carefully. In 2008, Russian archaeologists excavating the cave found a tiny piece of bone. It came from the 5th finger, the pinky, of a human hand, but it was too small to identify by shape alone. A child, an adult, male, female, no one could tell. It was cataloged and stored at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig, Germany. 2 years passed. In 2010, a team led by Svante Paabo, the scientist who later won the Nobel Prize for sequencing the Neanderthal genome, decided to extract mitochondrial DNA from the finger bone. They expected it to come back Neanderthal. Denisova Cave was full of Neanderthal remains. It was a reasonable assumption. They were wrong. The mitochondrial DNA did not match Neanderthals. It did not match modern humans. It had diverged from both lineages roughly 1 million years ago. This was not a hybrid. This was not a diseased individual. This was a distinct human species, a new branch on the family tree, discovered not through a skull or a skeleton, but through pure genetic code. Mitochondrial DNA is inherited only from the mother. It told researchers the maternal lineage of this individual had been separate from us and from Neanderthals for about 1 million years. But mitochondrial DNA is only a small part of the genome. To truly understand who the Denisovans were, they needed the full nuclear genome. By 2012, Paabo's team had done it. They sequenced the complete nuclear genome of the Denisovan finger bone, a full genetic portrait of a species no one had ever seen. The genome was as detailed and complete as any modern human genome. Every gene, every chromosome. The Denisovans had been preserved, not in bone, but in code. The genome revealed that the finger bone belonged to a young female. She lived roughly 50,000 years ago. She had brown hair, brown eyes, and dark skin. How do we know? The genes for those traits are in the genome. You can read them like a book. So who were the Denisovans? A sister species to Neanderthals. They split from the shared Neanderthal-Denisovan lineage roughly 400,000 years ago. They were not a subspecies of anything. They were a distinct branch of the human family, as different from Neanderthals as Neanderthals are from us. And they ranged across an enormous territory, the Xiahe jawbone. In 2019, a jawbone that had been discovered decades earlier in a cave on the Tibetan Plateau was identified through protein analysis as Denisovan. It was 160,000 years old. This proved Denisovans lived at extreme altitude, above 10,000 feet, long before modern humans arrived in the region, from frozen Siberia to the roof of the world. These were not isolated cave dwellers. These were a widespread, successful species. What did Denisovans look like? We have no complete skull, so scientists did something that sounds like science fiction. Using DNA methylation patterns, chemical markers that affect how genes are expressed and correlate with specific facial features, they reconstructed a Denisovan face. Wide skull, broad face, large jaw, more robust than modern humans, less so than Neanderthals, a face built from code, a face no human eyes have ever seen. The reconstruction is not perfect. It relies on statistical correlations between methylation patterns and bone structure that we have calibrated using modern humans and Neanderthals. But it is the best portrait we have of a species we have never seen, and it is extraordinary, a ghost given form. We have never found a Denisovan skull. Some scientists believe the Dragon Man skull discovered in China, massive with a brain capacity larger than modern humans, may be Denisovan. Others disagree. The debate is ongoing, but the fact that we are even having it, arguing over which mystery bone belongs to which mystery species, tells you how much we still do not know. Then they did the obvious thing. They compared the Denisovan genome to modern human populations around the world. The results were stunning. Melanesians, the indigenous peoples of Papua New Guinea, the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, Fiji, carried 4 to 6% Denisovan DNA. Aboriginal Australians carried Denisovan genes. Filipino Ayeta people carried up to 5%. The ghost species was not extinct. It was inside millions of living people. The Ayeta people of the Philippines carry the highest percentage of Denisovan DNA in the world, up to 5%. For thousands of years, they carried the genes of a species Western science had never heard of. The evidence was always there, in their blood, in their bones, in their immune systems. It just took until 2010 for anyone to know what they were looking at. Aboriginal Australians carry Denisovan DNA. Their ancestors met and interbred with Denisovans somewhere in Southeast Asia before crossing the now submerged land bridge into Australia roughly 50,000 years ago. The first Australians arrived carrying the genes of a ghost. They still do. Papua New Guinea, some of the highest Denisovan DNA percentages on Earth, up to 5%. These are not trace amounts from a single distant encounter. These populations carry Denisovan genes because their ancestors met Denisovans repeatedly, across multiple generations, and had children together. The ghosts were not a footnote. They were family. Here's where it gets personal. The Denisovans gave us specific genetic gifts. The most famous is EPAS1, a gene that regulates how the body responds to low oxygen. Tibetans carry a Denisovan version of EPAS1. It prevents dangerous hemoglobin spikes at high altitude. Without this single gene, inherited from a species we have never seen, the entire Tibetan Plateau would be uninhabitable. The roof of the world belongs to humanity because of a ghost. Think about that. You could fly to Tibet tomorrow. You would struggle to breathe. Headaches, nausea. Eventually, your lungs would fill with fluid. Tibetans do not experience this. Because their ancestors met Denisovans 40,000 years ago and received a genetic gift that is still saving lives today. That is not metaphor, that is biology. What other Denisovan traits do modern humans carry? Enhanced immune function. Specific HLA gene variants that help fight viruses came from Denisovans. Cold tolerance adaptations. Metabolic differences in fat storage. Your body may be running software written by a species you never knew existed. And the Bajau people, sea nomads of Southeast Asia, carry a Denisovan gene linked to enlarged spleens. It lets them free dive to 200 feet and hold their breath for 13 minutes. The Bajau. These are people who live on boats. They fish by diving, without tanks, without equipment, deeper and longer than seems humanly possible. Scientists were baffled until they tested their DNA. The Bajau have a genetic variant in the PDE10A gene that leads to enlarged spleens, which store oxygen-rich red blood cells and release them during dives. The variant is linked to Denisovan ancestry. The ghosts taught humans to breathe underwater. And then, Denny. While analyzing bone fragments from Denisova Cave, researchers found a tiny piece of bone from a child. The DNA told an impossible story. The bone belonged to a 13-year-old girl. Her mother was Neanderthal. Her father was Denisovan, a first-generation hybrid. Two different human species had a child together, and we found her. Denny changes everything. She means Neanderthals and Denisovans were not just distant species that occasionally crossed paths. They formed families. They lived together. They raised children together, children who were loved and cared for and buried in the same cave where their ancestors had lived for 300,000 years. The line between species was not a wall. It was a door. Denny is the only first-generation interspecies hybrid ever discovered in the human fossil record. Her mitochondrial DNA from her mother was Neanderthal. Her nuclear DNA showed equal contributions from a Neanderthal mother and a Denisovan father. She lived and died in Denisova Cave roughly 90,000 years ago. One bone, one child, two species, one family. So how did Denisovans compare to Neanderthals? Both descended from a common ancestor around 400,000 years ago. Both had larger brains than modern humans, though Denisovan brain size is estimated from partial remains. Both made sophisticated tools. Both interbred with Homo sapiens and with each other. The key difference? Neanderthals were a Western species, Europe and the Middle East. Denisovans were Eastern, from Siberia to Southeast Asia. And we know almost nothing about how the Denisovans lived. 3 species, 1 cave, 300,000 years. Neanderthals left their bones and tools in Denisova Cave. Modern humans left artifacts. And Denisovans, they left their DNA everywhere, in the soil, in the bones of their hybrid children, in the genomes of billions of people alive today. The ghost that left almost no physical trace left the deepest genetic footprint of any extinct human species. Where are all the Denisovans? This is the question Stefan Milo asked in the most popular Denisovan video on YouTube. The answer might be, we already found them. We just did not know it. Thousands of unidentified hominin bone fragments sit in museum collections worldwide. Some are Denisovan. Some may belong to species we have not yet named. The next Denisovan discovery will not come from a cave. It will come from a freezer. In 2024, researchers published a study analyzing proteins from over 2,000 unidentified bone fragments. They found several that matched Denisovan protein signatures. The bones had been sitting in museum drawers for decades, cataloged, photographed, and ignored. The Denisovans were hiding in plain sight. What Denisovan traits do you carry? If you have ancestry from Asia, Oceania, or the Americas, you may carry Denisovan DNA. Commercial DNA tests like 23andMe can now detect some Denisovan ancestry. The results show up as a small percentage, typically 0 to 5%. For most people, it is 0. For some, it is a reminder that their ancestors walked with ghosts. And then there is the most unsettling discovery of all. When scientists analyzed modern human genomes for signs of interbreeding, they found something they were not looking for. In addition to Neanderthal DNA, 1 to 4%, and Denisovan DNA, up to 6%, there were signatures of a fourth archaic species, one for which we have never found a single fossil, a ghost within the ghost. Some researchers think there may be 2 or even 3 additional ghost populations living in our DNA, species we know only through the statistical echoes they left in modern genomes. They have no names, they have no faces, they exist only in the code, and there may be more waiting to be found. Pause here. Let me ask you something. If there are 3 ghost species in your DNA, humans you are descended from but whose bones we have never found, what else is waiting in museum drawers? What else is buried in caves we have not discovered? What else is coded into your blood that you have never been told? The Denisovans were discovered in 2010. The next one could be found tomorrow. Denisova Cave gave us one more extraordinary artifact, a bracelet, made of chlorite, a green stone that does not occur naturally anywhere near the cave. It was drilled with precision, polished smooth, and dated to roughly 40,000 years ago. It is the oldest known piece of jewelry made by any human species, and it was found in a layer associated with Denisovans. The ghosts made art. They made beauty. They made things that had no survival value because survival was not the only thing that mattered to them. What did the Denisovans believe? We do not know. We have no burial sites we can confidently identify as theirs. No cave paintings, no carved figurines except the bracelet. But they lived for 300,000 years. They spread across thousands of miles. They loved across species lines. They created children who were loved by both Neanderthal and Denisovan parents. You do not need a burial to prove they had culture. The bracelet is enough. Here is what separates this video from every other Denisovan documentary. Most of them end here. They tell you the discovery story, the DNA evidence, the modern populations, but they never ask the harder question. If the Denisovans were so successful, 300,000 years, 2 continents, genetic gifts that still shape humanity, why did they disappear? What happened to the Denisovans? And why did Homo sapiens survive while they did not? We do not know. The same reasons that killed the Neanderthals, climate change, competition, low population numbers, interbreeding absorption, probably applied to Denisovans too. But here is the uncomfortable possibility. Homo sapiens arrived in Denisovan territory around 40 to 50,000 years ago. The last Denisovan fossils are roughly that age. Maybe we met, maybe we competed, maybe we absorbed them slowly, quietly, across generations, until there were no pure Denisovans left, only their genes, only us. Why do species go extinct? Sometimes the answer is violence, sometimes it is climate. Sometimes, most of the time actually, it is slower than that. A slight difference in birth rate, a slight advantage in social networks, a few more calories per day. Across 10,000 years, you do not need to win a war. You just need to have slightly more grandchildren. Are Denisovans still alive? In their pure form? No. As far as we know, the last Denisovan died tens of thousands of years ago. But their genes are still alive. In Tibetans breathing mountain air. In Bajau, divers hunting underwater. In Filipinos fighting off infections with immune systems upgraded by Denisovan DNA. In you, if your ancestry traces through Asia, the ghosts are not gone, they are inside us. Ask yourself this, if the Denisovans had survived, if they were still here, sharing the planet with us, different from us but undeniably human, what would we call them? Would we give them rights? Would we study them in zoos? Would we welcome them as cousins? How we answer that question says more about us than it says about them. That bracelet, 40,000 years old, a Denisovan made it. They selected a stone that had to be brought from over 100 miles away. They drilled it, they polished it, they wore it, probably for years, probably treasured, probably looked at by someone who loved it. When you make something beautiful, you are not just surviving, you are living. The Denisovans lived. We have spent this entire video talking about what the Denisovans gave us: the EPAS1 gene, the immune system upgrade, the diving ability. But here is what we gave them: nothing. We took their lands, we absorbed their populations, we outcompeted them, not through violence, but through the same quiet, grinding advantages that erased every other human species. And then we forgot they ever existed until a single finger bone told us otherwise. You owe the Denisovans. If you can breathe at altitude, you owe them. If your immune system fights off a virus today, you may owe them. If you carry their DNA, and hundreds of millions of people do, then part of who you are was shaped by a species you were never taught existed. The least we can do is remember their name. The Forgotten Humans teaches us this. We discovered an entire human species through code, not through bones, not through skulls, through a pinky finger too small to identify and a genome sequence built in a laboratory in Germany. The Denisovans are proof that we do not need a skeleton to know someone existed. We just need their DNA. 2. The Denisovans are inside millions of people right now. Their genes still shape how we breathe, how we dive, how we fight disease. You may be part Denisovan and never know it. The line between extinct and alive is blurrier than the textbooks told you. Extinction is not always the end of the story. Sometimes it is just a change of address from bone to blood. 3. There are more ghosts in your DNA. 2. Maybe 3. Species whose names we will never know, whose faces we will never see, whose bones sit in museum drawers labeled unknown. The Denisovans were just the first. The golden age of human discovery is not in the past. It is happening right now. And the tools are not shovels, they are sequencers. What are the Denisovans? A ghost species, discovered through code, known through a finger bone, a jawbone, a bracelet. They gave us altitude breathing, deep diving, and a better immune system. They loved across species lines and had a daughter named Denny. They made jewelry before anyone else. They survived for 300,000 years, and then they disappeared into us. Their genes in our blood, their face reconstructed from code, their story still being written. The ghosts are not dead. They are just quiet. Next time on The Forgotten Humans, we found the ghosts in our DNA, but the species we knew best, Neanderthals, we got completely wrong. They were not brutes. They cared for the disabled for decades. They buried their dead with flowers. And the Neanderthal women who built the Ice Age had bones denser than any modern athlete. The caregiver's history erased. Subscribe. This is the old